Most of you have probably grown up thinking that forest fires are bad. Actually, some fire in the forest is good. Sierra forests are considered a fire-dependent ecosystem. That means they need fire to survive and stay healthy. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to explain more about wildfires and the difference between good fire and bad fire. And yes, there is such a thing as a good fire. The communities in the Tahoe-Truckee area are located in what's called a wildland-urban interface. It's a technical term for explaining that we have built our homes and towns in and near the forest. It's a great place to live, but it also means we have to learn to live with fire. Wildfires are dangerous. The reason they're called wildfires is because they're fires that get totally out of control. They burn thousands and thousands of trees and other plants. They burn down homes. Often, animals and even people get hurt in wildfires. A big wildfire that does a lot of damage is definitely a bad fire. But like I mentioned before, there is such a thing as a good fire. Some of these good fires are called prescribed fires. They're actually set on purpose by forest managers. I know it sounds crazy, but they're very careful when they do it. First, they thin the forest by cutting down dead and sick trees, big clumps of small trees that aren't growing well, and all the overgrown brush. They gather it all up into big piles. They then wait until the weather conditions are just right with high humidity in the air and light wind before they set the piles on fire. This type of good fire, called a prescribed fire, is low burning and slow moving. The prescribed fire burns up all the piles of wood and any other small sticks and pine needles on the ground. After the prescribed fire is out, the forest is actually much healthier than it was before. Trees, like the Jeffrey pine, need fire to help them sprout. Without fire to burn away the pine needles, their roots can't reach the ground. With fewer trees, the pine needles gone, and the sun shining through, the Jeffrey pine and lots of other plants can now grow in the forest. This is what a natural forest should look like. The forest should have a variety of species of trees, large and small ones, spaced far apart so they all have room to grow. An added bonus, getting rid of all those dead trees, pine needles, and brush makes it a lot harder for the bad kind of fire to get started here. Have you ever heard the term defensible space? Everybody seems to be talking about it these days. Prescribed fire is a way of creating defensible space for the forest. But what about defensible space around your house? It's just as important if you want to help protect your house from the bad kind of fire. If you look at a lot of neighborhoods around here, sometimes it seems like the houses are like plants growing in the forest. Remember that term, wildland-urban interface? This is what it looks like. Trees and houses, houses and trees. It's hard to tell one from the other sometimes. Fire can't tell the difference. And if one of those bad wildfires came through here, the houses would burn down just as fast as the trees would. That's why so many people are talking about defensible space. Defensible space is a term for a fire-safe area around your house. There's a bit of work involved in creating defensible space, but with your parents' help, it can actually be a fun job. Your parents probably aren't going to give you a chainsaw and let you start cutting down trees. But there are plenty of things you can do to help create defensible space. One of the first things to do is walk around your house and look for ember beds. Wildfires get out of control and spread in a number of ways. One of the main ways a wildfire spreads is through hot, fiery embers flying in the air and landing on something that easily catches fire. This is an ember bed. Things like piles of pine needles on your roof or gutter, a wood pile stacked next to your house, and even deck furniture, floor mats, and other decorations on the outside of your home. Those are ember beds because if one of those bad wildfires were to start near here, flaming embers could land on them and catch the whole place on fire. So rake up those pine needles, clean them off of your roof, have your parents trim branches up from the ground and away from your house, move or cover the woodpile, and get rid of dead vegetation around your home. Creating defensible space doesn't mean you have to clear-cut the trees around your house. You can make it look pretty. Learn more about native and fire-resistant plants and landscaping. And get your parents involved. If you do it together, it'll be more fun, and your house will be more protected from a wildfire. Wildfire can be a scary thing, but it doesn't have to be. The more we understand about fire, the safer we can make our communities. Prescribed fire can be good if it's used carefully as a tool to help keep the forest healthy. And if you have defensible space around your house, you've done everything you can to help keep your home safe if one of those bad wildfires does come through.